Alright. Hey guys, Will here for How the Frack We Got Here. Going to get started in a few moments, so just bear with us as we proceed with some distributions. Won't be alone today. I actually have Thomas with me. Thomas, say hi to the folks, although they can't see us.
Hey, people. Hey.
So just bear with us, guys, here for one moment. We're going to go and get this Shindig started, so just give about the next couple of minutes, and we'll go from there.
I'm about to refill here in a minute.
Alright, guys, so let's go ahead and get this Shindig started. Today's date, March the 2nd, 2019, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, most Will Buchanan. Usually I know I'm by myself, usually on How the Frack We Got Here, but not today, because I know it's as you look at your watches, it's kind of late, we apologize. A lot of things are going on. Was definitely a lot going on, but I do got Thomas here with me, as you probably see him on my Off Limits podcast. So Thomas, say hi to the folks if you hadn't already.
Hey, everybody.
All right, and on How the Frack We Got Here,
Hello, children.
Really, hey chef. I kind of thought it was a hey chef.
That was.
But on How the Frack We Got Here, we do try to take the events and news of the current week and also try to make sense of it all, and we do got a lot of shit. So before we do get into that, Before we do get into that, we do have to go into our disclaimer. This is an adult podcast, which adult language will be used, and things of a graphic nature may or may not be shown.
Said shit multiple times.
Yeah, we just already said. So viewer discretion is advised, and I will give people the next 3 seconds to make the necessary adjustments.
Yeah, we didn't hit the beginning part.
Yeah, we
fuck that shit, son. No 3 seconds is gone now.
We got that part. That's fine. Okay, so everybody else is still around. Welcome. So let's go ahead and go right into it. So let's go ahead and go into the heart of the matter, where you probably, saw wall-to-wall coverage of a certain individual, Michael Cohen, and you probably saw this.
Yeah. 3 days on Capitol Hill, today behind closed doors. His sit-down inside a secure facility with the House Intelligence Committee comes after an explosive open session Wednesday with House oversight.
He's a con man, and he's a cheat.
House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff told CNN his committee would focus on finding out more about the president's potential criminal conduct. Schiff tweeting, "We'll examine in depth many of those topics, including Trump Tower Moscow, Roger Stone WikiLeaks, and any White House role in Cohen's false statements to Congress." The committee wants to examine Cohen's claim that Donald Trump Jr. told his father about the meeting with the Russians at Trump Tower before it happened in June 2016, as well as Cohen's claim that Roger Stone informed the president that WikiLeaks was about to expose emails from the Clinton campaign and the DNC. House Oversight Chairman Elijah Cummings said there's a lot more investigating to be done across Congress.
What we did yesterday was we gathered a lot of information that I think we may not look into it our committee, but one of the 5 or 6 committees will.
One focus for Cummings, hush money payments Cohen says he made to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about an alleged affair with Trump years before. Cohen showed lawmakers 2 reimbursement checks. One he said was signed by the president, and the other he said was signed by both Alan Weisselberg and Donald Trump Jr.
And do you know if this criminal financial scheme that the president, Alan Weisselberg, and Donald Trump Jr. are involved in is being investigated by the Southern District of New York?
I'd rather not discuss that question because it could be part of an investigation that's currently ongoing.
Alan Weisselberg is the Trump Organization's CFO, and he's provided testimony to federal prosecutors in Manhattan in exchange for limited immunity. Chairman Cummings says he may call both men in for questioning before House oversight. And Cohen opened the door to financial and tax fraud investigations, handing over the 2011 and 2013 financial statements Trump allegedly gave Deutsche Bank as the basis for a loan to buy the Buffalo Bills. Cohen suggested Trump inflated his worth for this loan, as well as on other occasions when it suited his interests.
Did the president ever provide inflated assets to an insurance company?
Yes.
And Cohen also suggested that prosecutors in New York are looking at other potential criminal conduct by the president beyond those hush money payments. Of course, we've already reported that SDNY is looking into the Trump Inaugural Committee, as well as executives at the Trump Organization. And Jake, of course, with House Oversight Chair Elijah Cummings saying that he expects widespread investigations over several committees. It appears that these 3 days of testimony from Michael Cohen may just be the tip of the iceberg.
All right, so Thomas, what were you saying during that video that you would love to repeat?
I said no shit when Cohen was talking about how Donald Trump was a con man and a crook, because it's like, if you followed him over the last couple years, what about his fucking career has actually been linked to any type of legitimate, successful businessman? I mean, Trump University, Trump Estate, I mean, literally anything that has Trump on it, he had to file for bankruptcy. Anybody that invested in him at the bottom got fucked all the way over, and him and his top shareholders just pretty much just crip walked out of the motherfucker with some money and just said, well, fuck you guys. I was like, I mean, seriously, it's like, ask the old retirees in Florida. So as far as their investment in Trump and real estate and how that shit went out.
So you're basically saying that there's like what Thomas is wanting to, Thomas is basically saying is there's been a previous track record of Trump's business dealings as far as how he does with people, whether it doesn't pay them, flat out just bribes them, or just flat out puts them in bankruptcy. But it always seems to be that he's always into something else. Now, Michael Cohen, if for those that don't know, keep in mind, he was Donald Trump's so-called fixer.
Right. He rolled this nigga while this happened, so
it's amazing.
You're comparable.
So it's not to say that he has a lie. I mean, granted, he's
just as dirty.
But at the same time, the reason why this testimony is so vital as far as him pretty much giving the farm, because keep in mind, he's still going to jail in May. He's still going to jail in May because he's still going down for campaign fines for campaign finance laws he violated while under the Trump candidate party. So he's going to go down regardless. So when a lot of people are going around saying, well, he's already lied to us about Trump. Why should we trust him? Well, let me put it to you this way: if a man has already know that he's going to prison, and regardless of what he does, he's going to prison, then honestly, what incentive does he have to lie to you? Because he's already going to a place he simply cannot avoid.
Yeah.
So
it's happened one way or another.
So yeah, if you were like me, like I did all Monday, like I was at work, TV was on CNN, and it was like watching the longest daytime soap opera on a news channel since Dallas.
Oh, my children.
Not Dallas, because Who Shot JR? Who Shot JR went?
Not them days.
Yeah, I mean that's that. No,
we ain't talking about that new Dallas.
No, we're talking about
the old Dallas.
You know, when that soap opera lasted at least a good 2.5 hours.
Nigga, and then they just shot over everything because the motherfucker just it was all a dream.
Yeah. So again, it's like, it's interesting to where we see where it's going now, because of course Trump came out and said, of course Cohen's lying, and at the same time the investigation's still going on, and this is all a collusion. There's no collusion. And I'm thinking to myself, for a guy who swears him down, he did nothing wrong. Why does he feel the need to keep saying it's no collusion? I'm going to tell you why. Because he is following the Hitler playbook. If you're repeating something, no matter if it's true or false, enough times, it will eventually be perceived to some as the truth. So
because you keep repeating it over and over and over again. If it varies, then at that point you must be lying. Mm-hmm. But if you keep even if it's the same lie, if you keep telling the lie consistently,
mm-hmm.
It must be true because it hasn't changed in any way, shape, or form.
Think of it like customer service. Like the one thing you always told customer service. Yeah, I'll be honest, because we both can speak from this. Because in customer service, you're taught one thing and one thing alone. If you are sounding very confident in everything that you say, 8 times out of 10, the other person on the other side of the phone will never question you.
Yeah.
They will take everything you said as gospel. Why? Because of the confidence that you show that they are not willing to challenge you over. Apply that to Trump. Trump is only as confident as the people who believe in him. So we really shouldn't be surprised that there's still a grand following of men and women who still support this man. Even more so in the Michael Cohen testimony, Trump didn't need any lawyers after Michael Cohen. He had the entire Republican Party. I mean, he had Jim Jeffries.
Everybody was sipping that Kool-Aid.
I mean, he had Jim Jeffries asking the most dumbest questions this side of the aisle, and Jim Meadows, which is another one, which is a video that his questionability is not being called the factor. He was also, because if you were listening to testimony, every Republican that was actually in the meeting was honestly giving the same set of questions worded differently. I mean, even Republican Matt Gaetz, the guy who threatened Michael Cohen over Twitter, he literally and figuratively threatened him over Twitter. So again, he's now being investigated by the Florida bar for possible disbarment because no matter how you cut the mustard, you can't threaten somebody over Twitter. But anyway, Mark Meadows decided that he was going to bring out I hate to say this, he brought out a black woman to show that there's diversity in Trump's cabinet.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I fucking hate when people do some bullshit. You know what that's comparable to? That's comparable to somebody who's extremely racist,
mm-hmm.
and you call them out on being extremely racist, mm-hmm. and then they say, well, I'm not racist. I got a black friend, John. If you don't go on somewhere with that motherfucker, you got one black friend named John, and you don't bring him, you don't shut your gut.
Right. So anyway, the reason why I'm bringing up Mark Meadows, like I said,
monkey ass.
So if you didn't see it, here's actually the video to where they discovered something about Meadows I found quite interesting.
This was settled during the meeting. What are you learning now?
Yeah, Anderson, certainly some new scrutiny over things that Mark Meadows has said in the past. This is first and foremost something that he said 7 years ago back in 2012 about then President Barack Obama. It was something at the time that was quite controversial. It was reported on by many outlets, but certainly given that very emotional back and forth and high profile back and forth at the Cohen hearing today, it certainly is getting a fresh look today. Here's first what Mark Meadows said back in 2012.
What we're going to do is take back our country. 2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
Now, in the aftermath of that comment, he was asked about this at the time, and he attempted, it seems, to walk it back. He told Will Collin in an interview in 2012 of those comments, it was a poor choice of words on my part, more than anything else. I believe he's an American citizen, that, of course, in reference to Barack Obama. And today we did reach out to Mark Meadows' office in light of this additional scrutiny on those past comments. First, just getting more of an explanation, also hearing what they think about this old video now going viral. They have not responded. Anderson, we of course keep asking them, and we'll let you know when we get a response.
Yeah.
So again, you really shouldn't be surprised about that. And
let me start off. All right, so essentially what they're doing is they're not going to comment because they're going to figure out how the fuck you spin this extremely. Wait, so what he just did was in the past. Because of the fact they thought that Barack Obama legit had no chance of becoming president on the second term, they attacked him for his citizenship. Everybody remembers this. And he just was blatantly racist. Because guess what? The platform that he goes to is cool with that shit. You can say it either way you want to. It's like, no, they're not. No, if you think about it, they say a lot of racist shit, and then there's a couple people just don't even pay that much attention. It's like, oh, they don't mean it that way. Yes, they motherfucking do. All right, so what he did was he made that statement. I'm pretty sure the people you heard go, woo! If you was to go ahead and interview them right now, I didn't mean to cheer that because I thought Barack Obama would. Yeah, you did, motherfucker. So essentially what it is, they take this back. And the same motherfucker uses the black woman as a problem. Like, here, see?
And
we have diversity in this campaign.
And I was really hoping that the video was there. Unfortunately,
they ain't gonna show that damn video.
That video is there.
It's there, but
because it was on.
I bet it got yanked.
It probably did because I wanted to show.
You ain't gonna find that shit nowhere.
Because I wanted to show him during the testimony where he sat there and said, "This individual works at." And I mean, the look on the representatives, the black woman's representative's face, and the worker just seemed like an area of disgust. Like, you brought me out here as a prop.
Like, she just like, motherfucker.
Yeah. She was brought out as a prop.
I don't even know my fucking name.
But Meadows and Jeffries, it just seems like there's always individuals.
I ain't never seen you before today.
It just seems like there's individuals
they
there.
said I would get a $5,000 bonus if I showed up.
But the thing about it is with Meadows, it's just that, like I said, he's one of those now they're having to walk back what they say. Like, I don't even think they want to walk back what they say. But
they're trying to reword it in such a way where it doesn't seem as bad. But he meant every fucking thing that came out of every goddamn thing that came out of his mouth. He meant that.
Yeah, it's just the overactiveness of it all is where it just honestly is. It's like you can't sit there and say, yeah, you were a little bit racist toward President Obama at the time because you sat there and said we're going to send him to Kenya. First off, let me tell you something. Kenya is not an insult. Kenya is a very, very beautiful country if you ever get the chance to go to Africa. So saying,
Wait. The funny thing about that was he said it in such a derogatory way.
Like it's
but at the same time, if you was to ask him about that now, he's going to try to walk that back as well. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't mean to disrespect Kenya. No, you clearly meant to disrespect both Barack Obama as well as Kenya itself.
And try to sit there and say
And
otherwise.
now, because you're being called out on the fact that you were completely and blatantly racist, the fact that you're not racist, you know what? Mm-hmm. I would give you even more respect if you just went ahead and just double down and say, yeah, I said that and meant that. At least I know that you are racist and that's what you stand on. At this point, you're just a bitch that's just trying to make yourself work on what people actually like to where they don't destroy you.
Right. So we're going to move right along on that one. So probably those who are probably wondering about the national emergency, the national emergency that we never heard of since Trump said he declared national emergency.
Much like that caravan that disappeared mysteriously.
The mysterious caravan that just seems to disappear.
The national Mexico. They're going to take over everything. Where they go? We don't quite know.
The national emergency. I love the fact he declared a national emergency. Then he went to his weekend estate like it wasn't nothing and waited for an omelet. I'm like, that's a national emergency. But anyway, the national emergency that he tried to do, which a lot of people did not understand, and I was, I made sure to say this properly before I got on this podcast. Before that. So how a national emergency works, for those that don't know, the president only under 136 different kind of claims can declare a national emergency, usually followed by severe weather, the damage storms after that. It has to be ratified by the House and the Senate before federal funding can be released, which Trump thought that he could supersede that just because he thought executive action meant dictatorship. It does not. So, moving right along as far as that goes.
Can I say this real quick?
Hurry up.
That's what happens when you pay for your education and you don't actually learn any fucking education.
They can't. Every time.
Because he paid for his fucking. He don't know shit about checks and balances, how the fucking government works. He thinks if you got money, you can just go ahead and just make that shit happen.
But on a separate story, though, they even said that not his school nor his colleges will release his transcripts without being sued. Which I think you have to threaten your schools that you've been to not to release your transcripts out of what? Fear of things we already know?
But you don't know shit. They pay for everything.
But anyway, the vote as far as the national emergency goes, it was actually voted down. And the number kind of bothered me a little bit. That the vote was 245 to 182. So you're going to stand and tell me that 182 people were in favor of ratifying the National Emergency Declaration. That's kind of scary. I mean, the 245, all Democrats.
Have you seen how many people back him?
True. I mean, but the thing about it is 13 Republicans actually voted with Democrats. So.
Because they realize this shit ain't happening.
Yeah, the 245 was all Democrats, 13 Republicans. So that tells you that 182 Republicans firmly believe that they should back the president because the thing about it was he was just trying to find ways of funding his border wall.
You know what I sadly think that is? I think that's a combination of just stupidity along with party loyalty.
Oh, that's why I'm
just-
getting. Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'm getting. I mean, you're right. Hold on to that thought, but you're right. I want you to hold on to that thought because I do have a story for that. But yeah, like Thomas said, that was pretty much bend the knee and kiss the ring, which also is another reason why about no story I'm going to go into. But I want to get in this one because if you're like me, you look at your rent and you're thinking to yourself, if you have an apartment or a home, you look at your rent and you're probably just wanting to just pull your hair out. You know, the simple fact of the matter is it keeps up going every year, except, it's the same roof, same utilities, and it keeps up going every year. And a lot of people, like I said, I include myself in it, is that it's coming, you have to work longer hours, you have to work harder, and it's just a simple fact of the matter is just that you just can't seem to get ahead with rising rent costs. And, if you're in a state like mine in Tennessee, we're not bound to really see the progress, but I do love the fact that in Oregon, someone's finally actually doing something about it.
The bill is a critical tool for stabilizing the rental market throughout the state of Oregon. It will provide immediate relief to Oregonians struggling to keep up with rising rents and a tight rental market.
This is I can't even tell you.
Now, that right there, I do love the fact of the civil
That
fact.
hit so close.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, when I first saw this, I'm like, this needs to be implemented in every
Everywhere.
state. And like, I'm not just saying, not just Oregon, not just Tennessee. I mean, if you honestly look up rent.com or Zillow or any other place like that, you'll notice that rent prices have literally and figuratively increased dramatically over actually the last 2 years. Like, I'll give you an example of my rent going away. I used to, for one bedroom in Tennessee, the average rent at what was 3 years ago was maybe 600 something.
Yeah,
maybe
on
high
average,
on
like
average.
about-
On
you
average,
might be able to find like a kind of shady one for like about maybe 530,
Yeah.
but you find like a good one for like about 610,
Yeah.
625.
yeah, for a small one bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's like now that very same small one bedroom 3 or 4 years ago was 600. Like Tom was saying, somewhere between 6 and 650. Now
825 at least.
you're being very generous. I was gonna say
Yeah,
I was gonna say you're being very generous.
At least.
But yeah, it's like you got to think about it. For the same set of space, it is almost asking 110% over what you initially would pay for. So it's almost along the lines of just like, what the, I mean, and again, like I said, I'll give you another prime example. It's like the cost of an average 2-bedroom in Tennessee is over $1,000. Think about that for a second. The average cost of renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Tennessee is nearly $1,000. So, and a lot of people are going to sit there and go, well, that just means the income's up, right? No.
Fuck no.
Income is not up. Matter of fact, please, I said, this is the reason why I sit there and say,
This is a right to work state, so.
yeah, it's a right to work state. At the same time, wages are stagnant. Anybody that's not above the 6-figure income line are not going to see increases. The only ones that did see that is just the group I've just described. Everybody else that's 5 figures and below, you didn't see spit. And again, with rent, like I said, if you're owning your home, mortgages and property tax have gone up that much. But it just seems like in the rental market, which a lot of people like myself are in, we have to deal with that just increasing amount, and it doesn't make any sense because, like I said, the property value hasn't increased, so therefore, why am I paying
is my
more?
rent going up?
And I was like, and I've heard people go, well, it's just the way of the markets and how they make money and how certain firms in different states own land in another state. I get that. But here's the thing. If no one can afford to live there, then at this point, doesn't it become an empty shell? does not become a hollowed area for squatting and whatnot. Because that's the one thing that I love about this Oregon law is because, yeah, we understand that at some point as the market fluctuates up and down, rent prices may increase.
Right.
We get that.
Get it.
But rental prices are not supposed to reflect the current stock market because you can't say every year that you go up by $50. Like in my apartment, that's how it happened. It's like every year or every time I renew my lease, the price increased by about $70 and $90. So you gotta think, it's like, why am I paying $70 and $90 for the same area that I've been living in? And I think that's why I said the rental market is starting to become like payday loans. It starts to become that cycle that you have to keep paying, but you never can put away enough to where you can actually move to the next step of a home. So that's why I was like, that's why I was looking at this. I'm like, there's just so many things that just don't make any sense.
Not any.
But I love the fact that the Oregon law that's just been put into place because that means things will change as far as Oregon, and maybe it'll move along. I mean, just like cannabis being legalized, maybe eventually Tennessee will get on that bandwagon. I don't see it happening as far as right now because too many people really don't want this cash crop to hit the shelves. Because let's be honest, I've yet, and people, you can find whatever article you want on this, and I want you to come back and find something. I have yet to find where crime has increased when cannabis was legal. They tried it with Denver. Denver has had the lowest crime rate it's ever had in 15 years since cannabis markets hit. But think about that. If you're really high, you're not going to do shit but just stand there, stand there. You're not going to try to do anything stupid like rob a bank or rape somebody or murder somebody. You'll be so high, you'll be lucky. In the words of Robin Williams, you'll be so high, you'll be lucky to find your freaking feet.
But here's the thing. I think what it comes down to is when cannabis is legal, that means that you don't get in trouble for it. What people don't understand is a lot of people get arrested for cannabis.
Yeah,
everywhere.
And they were talking.
This is considered to be a drug, even though it's not really a drug because this is actually an herb that's used for purposes. I mean, granted, like anything else, it can be abused. I understand that,
but it's a plant.
Legit,
it's not a plant.
It's
a plant.
It's not a drug.
And that's the one thing I've always hated. Like I said, I don't smoke cannabis. Do I know about it? Yes, because I have bragged for years about its healing properties. I've said about not only healing properties, the fact that it helps with mental and physiological issues, helps out people with PTSD, helps out folks with depression, helps out folks who are schizophrenic.
Cannabis oil has so many different uses.
Right, and calming seizures down. I mean, pain medication when folks were on those OxyContin and Percocets.
As opposed to, as like OxyContin and Percocet, where you become addicted to that because that is a fucking drug.
And designed to be addictive.
Yes.
And keep in mind, these designer drugs were designed to get you, just like caffeine. Caffeine was a designer drug. It was designed to get you addictive. That's why, if you're like me and you're trying to come down off the soda train and you find yourself kind of jonesing, that is the design. The design is to make you want it.
They did exactly what they set out to do.
Caffeine, I would tell people, caffeine is not a natural stimulant. It is a chemical-derived stimulant. If you look at sugar in its purest form, sugar itself is not addictive because it does not contain those same properties. That's why a lot of people, and I've seen my friend do it over here because he's big. He's a lot to the fitness side, and they like it with the To Be Determined podcast. So he can tell you off the bat. He can also tell you that the sugar that he gets, or he can tell you what to get, will probably be a whole lot healthier than you immediately going for the sugar that's at the bottom shelf because it's $1.29.
Yeah.
I know it's $1.29 because it hasn't changed since 1987.
Ain't changed a goddamn dime.
And the sugar that's actually healthy for you is probably about $8 to $10 a box.
The fuck yes.
So
like the natural brown sugar. It's like, oh man, what the fuck? It's like, so unprocessed sugar is almost $10 for less. And you get like a big ass thing of processed. Ain't none of this shit good for you. The whole goddamn bag like $129.
But it's been chemically processed and designed to make you addictive.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say this, going back to the Oregon law, the rent itself can be the rent control in the rent market helps a lot of people out. but also at the same time increasing wages across the board will help people out. Like the fight for $15. The fight for $15, you've probably seen that thing on Facebook. I support that. Why not the minimum wage across the board be $15 for whatever job you have? That's how it should be. Just the simple fact of the matter is, everybody needs to be able to work a job. You say, well, I can work a single job and I can pay everything off. Okay, cool. That means your single job is probably 5 or 6 high figures. But for a lot of people out there, it's not as high for them. So you can't sit there and say it works out for you when you have 2 people who probably work 2 jobs trying to keep one roof over their heads. And the majority of what they pay goes to the rent. So again, I love the simple fact of the matter that the Oregon law went into place. I kind of hope, like I said, it gathers steam and moves over to the other states. And like I said, I would actually be at this point, like, we done bailed the banks out so many times, they need to start giving away homes for free.
What you said.
But again, we know. I know.
We got like at least 3 bailouts since the goddamn first time that Bush, who is not the worst president after this one.
Oh yeah,
it's the first bailout.
After this
that
one,
it happened for the banks. Everybody remember that shit when the damn car companies and the banks came to goddamn Bush with their pockets out. He's like, all right, I help you. And they made sure their shareholders would cover before anybody else.
Well, let's be honest. At this rate, Bush looks like a fucking genius compared to Trump.
Oh my God, I would do anything for Bush to be back in office right now because I know that at least he was intelligent. Because it's like, you know what, you might not agree with his policies. I understand that, but if I can listen to what you're saying and it sounds like you have an idea what the fuck you talking about, even though I may not agree with it, I can kind of understand. I'm like, no, I don't. I understand what you're talking about, but I don't see where you're coming from.
Right.
This guy, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. And then he don't even answer what you talking about. He just sidesteps it and talks about some other shit. I'm like,
and keeps talking. Yeah.
But architect, you didn't answer my motherfucking question.
True. So we're gonna move right along here because, like I said, a lot of stuff got covered. And like I said, Happy Thomas is right here with me because it's kind of interesting to have commentary on the political side of this. So that's not the only. As far as the Cohen case and Trump itself, he still had other things he wanted to talk about. And let's be honest, he flew 8,000 miles to a summit with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. And if you're wondering how it went, well, I'm not going to say get your hopes up.
Yeah.
Just left Chairman Kim. We had a really, I think, a very productive time. We thought, and Secretary Pompeo felt that it wasn't a good thing to be signing anything. I'm going to let Mike speak about it. But we literally just left. We spent pretty much all day with Kim Jong-un, who is, he's quite a guy and quite a character, and I think our relationship is very strong. But at this time, we had some options, and at this time we decided not to do any of the options, and we'll see where that goes. But it was a very interesting 2 days, and I think actually it was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk. And this was just one of those times, and I'll let Mike speak to that for a couple of minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had been working, our teams, the team that I brought to bear, as well as the North Koreans, for weeks to try and develop a path forward. So at the summit we could make a big step along the way towards what the two leaders had agreed to back in Singapore in June of last year. We made real progress, and indeed we made even more progress when the two leaders met over the last 36 hours. Unfortunately, we didn't get all the way. We didn't get to something that ultimately made sense for the United States of America. I think Chairman Kim was hopeful that we would. We asked him to do more. He was unprepared to do that, but I'm still optimistic. I'm hopeful that the teams will get back together in the days and weeks ahead and continue to work out. It's a very complex problem. We've said since the beginning that this would take time. Our teams have gotten to know each other better. We know what the limits are. We know where some of the challenges are. And I think as we continue to work on this in the days and weeks ahead, we can make progress so that we can ultimately achieve what it is that the world wants, which is to denuclearize North Korea, to reduce risk for the American people and people all around the world. I wish we could have gotten a little bit further, but I'm very optimistic that the progress that we made, both in the run-up to this summit, as well as the progress that the two leaders made over these past 2 days, put us in position to get a really good outcome. The President and Chairman Kim both felt good that they had made that progress, but couldn't quite get along the line any further to make a deal that would have been bigger at this point. I hope we'll do so in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so pretty much that was literally a whole lot of nothing. Yeah. I do mean that.
That was fluff.
If you've never heard managers talk, especially in some places, they usually say a lot and say very little. At that point,
a whole bunch of words with no fucking substance.
Right. And
that's what the fuck we just heard.
And it's interesting when they talk about the Hanoi summit, where they said they had good and constructive meetings, but nothing came out of it. And what's more scary is that there's some people are applauding Trump for walking away from the table. I'm thinking, and the thing about it is, though, he won't do to North Korea what he did to Iran, Iraq, and Pakistan. He realized that he could send every American troop into those places, and yeah, he might wind up taking a loss as far as personnel goes, but he eventually knows that he can take those three countries by storm if needed. North Korea is 1.8 billion people strong. At the same time, their weapons, scientific advancements, even their space exploration is either ahead of us or actually right up there with us with a little bit of them sticking out. Again, why in the world do you? And it was interesting where a lot of people were going, Kim Jong-un is a dictator. He's had his family killed by the army. He basically has kept up the power. If anything, the guy should be stripped of his. He honestly should be stripped of it, of all his title and nature of things that gives. It's amazing to me that you're gonna sit there and just try to reason with them. And don't get me wrong, negotiation is better than war, because we're a War I country. If you think about it, for our almost 2019 years of this nation's acceptance, we have honestly spent probably about a good 400 or 500 years in war. We're tired of it. Now, if something can happen with North Korea, cool. But at the same time, don't make it seem like you're setting up for Vietnam 3, Vietnam 2, the sequel. That's all I'm saying. But go ahead, Thomas. Yeah, you look at something around.
What this is a very poor attempt on trying to make something stick as far as something positive. Because no matter how you spin this, everything that this president has done has been an atrocity and has been a legit train wreck happening right before your eyes. No matter how you try to spin so what you try to do is you try to find a dictator and try to make it seem like you're coming to the point where you're discussing a term for stopping the malicious activity that you have been known for, and I'm going to make you do this even though I have legit no political training any type of negotiation.
But that's what I'm saying. With the
whatsoever.
Yeah, Pompeo doesn't have any negotiating skills. But again, he was nominated, which brings me to the point that I told Thomas to hold on when I said he nominated along party lines. Here's the problem when you nominate along party lines, because this is exactly what happened with the EPA.
Washington, the head of the EPA, Andrew Wheeler, sat down with me for an exclusive First Network TV interview here on ABC News Live. Now, despite what President Trump has said, the new EPA chief, Wheeler, told me he thinks climate change is a problem, not a hoax, but says some of those impacts are overblown.
Some of the conclusions were based on the worst-case scenario. So I'm trying to take the report as a whole. We're using the tools that Congress gave us to address CO2, climate change, and we're moving forward.
Now, Wheeler, a former coal industry lobbyist, told me he's looked at the Democrats' Green New Deal plan, which would call for zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. He said it's an ambitious proposal, but one, in his view, that's not ready for prime time.
They seem to discount the need to have grid reliability and a safe, secure electricity supply, and that is paramount to human health. You know, when we go into an emergency response after a hurricane, one of the first things we want to make sure is that the electric system gets up and running so that we can continue to provide safe drinking water to the American public impacted by those disasters.
Now, today, the EPA is unveiling a new action plan to take on 2 toxic non-stick chemicals that touch millions of American lives, but many of us aren't aware of the dangers. They're called PFAS, and EPA Chief Andrew Wheeler told me it's in the drinking water of 16 million Americans, possibly even more. He says the EPA is working to get those chemicals out of the water.
We know where the chemicals were manufactured, and we know a lot of the areas where they were actually used. So we're going into those communities to see whether or not the water in those communities are contaminated. But this is, again, we haven't slowed down. We've actually speeded up the process.
Now, public health advocates want the EPA to mandate nationwide testing for this chemical and to be aggressive about removing it from the water. Democrats say the agency's been slow to act. Wheeler says they're on the case. He's expected to be confirmed by the Senate later this month. I'm Devin Dwyer, Washington. You're watching a...
About this guy is just that he was literally voted in with no contest. Now, he's actually going to be, at the time of this publication, he was confirmed. So Andrew Wheeler is now the head of the EPA. And like I said, for his examples of what he just talked about, this goes back into why we know, along with, I forgot her name, she was nominated the UN ambassador for the U.S., it's like they keep hiring these unqualified individuals to step in and, you know, honestly just destroy stuff. Or as I like to call it, let's go in here and undo everything the black guy did. So I'm not surprised about that one, you know, aside from the fact of, yes, he's back in there. Will things change with a new president? We hope so, because I'm going to be honest about impeachment. That's all I'm going to say about it for right now. I don't think it's going to happen the way we want it to. Can a president be indicted? Yes, because Colin Powell, former Attorney General, said there's no law against it. So therefore, unless they put one in at the 12th hour, yeah, there is a chance that President Trump can still be fucking arrested. But anyway, speaking of those that got arrested, this actually brought a smile to my face as well.
Jerusalem. I'm here in front of the residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is now facing bribery, fraud, and breach of trust charges pending a trial. Israel's Attorney General making the bombshell announcement that he intends to indict the Israeli leader after a 3-year investigation and just weeks before Israelis head to the general elections. Netanyahu is accused of giving political favors to wealthy supporters who lavished him with gifts, and in the worst case, giving tens of millions of dollars in regulatory benefits to a telecom company in return for controlling, crafting some positive press coverage of him and his administration from that company's news website. And Netanyahu has come out fighting, calling the indictments against him a witch hunt and insisting that he is innocent. He says he will win re-election and continue to lead Israel. Of course, the voters here will have the final say, and it's still quite unclear whether Netanyahu's base will rally around him or abandon him. Even some who leave him and his Likud party could make all the difference in this very tight race. These potential criminal charges now could make all the difference on whether Netanyahu wins or loses on April 9th. In Jerusalem, I'm Jordana Miller for ABC News Live.
So again, it's so if you don't remember who Netanyahu is, of course, Netanyahu used to be the former prime minister of Israel. You also remember in his first years of Trump being president, the first year, I believe, he actually invited Netanyahu to speak in front of Congress. Keep in mind, a foreign national has never been given the opportunity to address the Congress at the House of Representatives. And everybody figured that Netanyahu was exactly like Trump in so many ways, because again, he's not a businessman, but he knows his access, and he knows his numbers, and he pretty much knows what wheels to grease. So we shouldn't be surprised now that for somebody that the Republican Party praised while he was here along with Putin, that he is not exempt. And I sit there and said before, this is honestly the Trump Act, because Trump's speaking from an area to where he can do certain things, and he knows it's not going to touch him because of his resources and personnel at hand. You, however, have nothing. So if something were to happen to you, guess what? You're taking the ride. Whether it's to the wooden chair or the electric chair, you're bound to take one. So again, it's like I've seen people come out here with celebrity haircuts, like the John Stamos fade, the Good Times fro.
Are you talking about when you say John Stamos? You talking about when he had the mullet?
Yeah.
Are you talking?
Woo,
the Jesse mullet.
He had the Jesse mullet. And it never ceased to amaze me, like a guy like Netanyahu, who was actually in front of Congress begging for money. He was honestly the true welfare queen. Welfare queen. She's a killer queen. I'm sorry, that's how I have to pronounce myself to say when you get tongue-tied. So it is amazing to me that the welfare queen of Israel wants us to bail him out. But then again, we already did bail him out before. Because, unfortunately, the Netanyahu took the Trump playbook. He pretty much said that it's going to get done regardless how you feel about it, so give me money. Wait a minute. It's going to get done regardless of what you want to do, so go ahead and pay me? That doesn't really sound like a very artsy thing to do, guy. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
But again, that's also interesting because, like I said, the next couple of episodes, the next actually couple of stories, all seem to be about one thing. And I know with Black History Month being over and done with, I'm sorry, we're Black 365. You're not going to stick us with a 28 calendar, 28 day full of 28s,
right.
Because every other place can get 31
day month. Really?
Yeah. And I'm like,
fuck that shit. We taking January, bitch.
So again, it's like I've noticed this like the past weeks that several stories have came out where it just seems like it's almost like the black instead of respecting the black race for what it is and actually praising it and go along with it the same way you do at Native American festivals and Irish culture festivals and medieval and things of that nature. We get this kind of stuff. For example, this story here that doesn't have a video where it explains that Denver High School reversed a policy on Thursday that allowed students to opt out of attending a Black History Month assembly. Yes, that they allowed students to opt out of an upcoming Black History celebration. So here's my thing, and that's just one. It's the sad part. That's just one. I didn't even got to the other one where it sat there and said about this particular notion.
Now, tonight's Board of Ed meeting, a lot of people were visibly upset that such an unfortunate situation happened in such a tight-knit community.
I cannot take my face off. And neither can Black and brown students here.
Students at Simsbury High School and parents addressed Board of Ed members about a controversial post on Snapchat. 2 high school girls with dark makeup on their face. And a letter to parents, high school principal Andrew O'Brien said the 2 girls were playing makeup with 2 boys, and the 2 boys applied different colors to the girls' faces. What the principal says was intended to be harmless fun was interpreted instead as racist and a version of blackface.
Ignorance is ignorance, and you're only doing what you're taught at home. I don't believe that they didn't know what they were doing.
In a letter, the principal goes on to say the post was removed and the girls posted an apology, saying they did not realize they could have offended anyone. The students like Khadijah Riddick believe their apology was not sincere.
These girls knew what they were doing. I'm sorry, but I'm into makeup. But the more, their foundation color should not have been that dark in the first place. They knew what they were doing. And the more you apply it on, if it was a lighter skin tone, the lighter the foundation would get.
Members with the NAACP showed up in large numbers to spread one message: the district needs to be educated.
They are implementing certain conversations in school, but it's not mandatory for all the students. It's for those students who choose to participate. And if we want to have that conversation about changing the climate and the culture in the town of Simsbury, I believe that it should be inclusive of everyone.
Superintendent Matthew Curtis also sent out his own letter to parents and staff, calling the image offensive and hurtful.
But I don't believe that there was any kind of moral character flaw. I think it was a stupid teenage brain mistake.
And the principal go on to say,
and it's hard to sit there and say that they say it's a mistake. But again, that's not the only thing, because there's also one of the high school team that basically showed this, that literally sat there and showed pictures of blackface because it psyched out a basketball player for a game that they actually had here at their hometown, so in Wisconsin. So again, you have a tale of blackface. That was other people putting this up, and as you can kind of tell by the picture, I'm not sure if I can blow it up or not. I can give it a shot. Well, that's about as best as I can get, guys. So, as you can see the shot there, literally and figuratively, everybody's holding up pictures of him as far as blackface. And I'm like, that's not blackface, that's a beauty mask. But again, the whole idea of it all is that you are basically sitting there saying, you're basically sitting there and saying, well, at least it's not me. At least it's that, it's not me that gets that far. And I personally think that's bullshit. But again, that's not the only story, because also with this one, you have this picture. You have Marines who actually are currently training, decided to turn around and actually have a blackface mask on, although clearly those are cleansing masks. But still, it didn't stop them from saying the word blackface and then using a racial expression often used to describe African Americans. I believe you know which one that is. Because, I don't like saying it, but you know what that one is. And again, this is just not, again, it's amazing that this is the armed forces and they have yet still face discipline action. Still not done. Because there's still one more about this nut.
So she gestures one more time.
The video uploaded to Snapchat was recorded by Detroit police officer Gary Steele, the 18-year veteran, using the pre-made app captions, "What Black Girl Magic Looks Like," and celebrating Black History Month after pulling over Ariel Moore.
All the extra comments and putting me on social media, that wasn't called for. We're in 2019, that racism is still going on.
Moore, who was stopped while driving through Detroit for expired tags and driving without insurance, had her car impounded. Moore was recorded walking home as Officer Steele and his partner made what the police chief calls troubling comments.
Bye, Felicia.
I'm angry because this was a racially insensitive post. This is not what we expect of Detroit police officers.
Officer Steele, who has not responded to our request for comment, has been demoted and reassigned. In 2008, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor after he was charged with attacking his ex-girlfriend and firing a gun. Tonight, Detroit's top cop calls this video an outrage, one that could cost the officer his job. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
It's not going to cost him his damn job.
And honestly, guys, that's where we're trying to get to. And, like I said,
it's racist comments, racist activity, killing somebody based on their race ever cost a damn police officer their fucking job.
You're right.
Never in the history of this fucking country. So if you don't go on somewhere with that bullshit ass logic.
So, Thomas ain't wrong at all. But the thing about these stories I want to bring
out of here.
But the thing I want to bring these stories is just that there seems to be this whole thing of insulting black people, whether verbally, whether physically, cartoonish or slander, or what have you. It just seems to be this growing trend of people saying, well, you guys can't be overly sensitive, or you guys can't be this because you were doing that to others, and this, that, and what have you. Let me point something out. For a lot of us, this is not nothing new. We were told about this because we were told because our elders told to us, and we experienced this and we also experienced this for ourselves. So we really shouldn't be surprised that there are going to be these things out here that people just don't understand. And like history, for example, history honestly can change if someone is willing to write down what's really in those books and not sugarcoat it, because that's the only way the actual literature will work to educate individuals, is that it has to have the truth. That unfortunately, white people are not indigenous to this land. You came from a faraway land and you just settled down here and fucked like rabbits is what you did.
Right. Well, you gotta wait. Hold up. They first committed mass genocide, then they fucked like rabbits.
Yeah. So again, it's like,
cause you gotta be sure to kind of almost kill off all the indigenous and put them on like some goddamn far off land that we don't even fucking want.
Right.
And we hope you die. Wait, y'all ain't died yet, so I guess we just go ahead and just keep you here. Now, you're already lost. This is our country now. Now let's fuck like rabbits and make this ours.
Right.
America.
So it's just the thing about what I was saying is just that when it comes to certain things, it's like, if you need to do a blackface, do us all a favor. Don't. If you feel the need to call a black person a nigga or a nigga, don't. And on top of that, please don't think it's cool enough to where you get called that. If you get called that ever in your life, smile, nod, and change the fucking conversation. Because then at that point, everything you do is shadowed and collected. But as we get to the end of this, like I said, I know it's a lot of doom and gloom here. We do have a couple of feel-good news. Feel-good stories I like to use because in a world of just tragedy and pain and things of that nature, you ever wonder if things getting feeling better, you come across those stories that give you a little bit of hope. This one, I have to give to this kid because He is a freaking genius as far as making that much money in 4 days. Here's how he did it.
Normally we had several tons of ice melt sitting here.
You guys got us in yet? We have not. Unfortunately, we're waiting on the pass to open up.
Now, I have to give to that young man. I mean, in 4 days, he's made over $35,000 just shoveling snow.
Hustle.
I have to give it to him. Respect on that, because a lot of
Hustle of that young man.
Yeah, to gain that much money and still he wants to give 20% of to charity. I mean, I understand it.
Ridiculous.
I understand it, but
I understand it, and I would do it, and the guy next to me wouldn't do it.
No, I would not.
I would definitely do that. Look at fuck around and hit the lottery. Oh, so much is going to so many goddamn accountable charities.
True.
Dude.
But again, I can't knock the Ohio team because, like I said, he took an opportunity and ran with it. Much the same sense that this woman did. So, you know, this one kind of got me misty-eyed. I'm not going to lie.
One woman has mastered the craft of custom-made smiles. More from Adriana Diaz.
This used to be Amy Gendrisovit's dining room. Now it is the doll workroom. The dolls Amy makes by hand aren't just playthings. They're partners for kids who don't often see themselves represented in the world.
A lot of people see dolls and they think, oh, they're just toys.
And I would tell you, look at these videos.
That's a very special That baby has a leg like you.
Children with limb differences, prosthetic braces, and Treacher Collins. It makes them not feel so alone. So their logical brain knows that this is just a doll, but the very innocent child part of them still feels like, now I'm not the only one that looks this way.
I have one hand and she has one hand.
9-year-old Bella Zizzo has loved little Bella since she was 5.
How did you feel when you got her?
Well, I kind of felt very excited because, like, most people don't get a doll that looks like them.
Did you ever think you would ever find a doll like Bella?
No, honestly, I didn't.
Amy was once a social worker and used so-called play therapy to help kids through tough times using dolls. But in 2014, she changed that with A Doll Like Me. It took off on Facebook, and through GoFundMe, strangers can sponsor dolls, which cost $75 to $100 to create.
He has crazy hair, his doll has crazy hair.
Stacey Cefalu's son Chase is nonverbal. He loves to smile and really loved our camera equipment.
Just to see his face when we opened it and you just kept looking at it.
We're going to change the narrative for these kids. And the more we see it and the more we talk about it, the more regular it will become for kids like Bella. Sewing changed so kids can play in a world that looks like them. Adriana Diaz, CBS News. New.
And I'm going to be honest, when you see stories like that, that's just once there go, there is still hope in the world. Yeah. And that's the one thing about the good news segment, is that we always, although like I said, we go over the doom and gloom of the week, and you always wonder, is this worth its salt and people caring and whatnot? And you see stories like that, you sit there and go, yeah, I can live with that. That is cool. And honestly, you know, anything like I said with Special Olympics, there's a lot of things that we'll make fun of. That we'll never make fun of Special Olympics. Number one, we'll never make fun of fat people in the gym, because you know why? We used to be fat people.
I used to be the fattest motherfucker.
I before you go into that, because I know where you gotta go. I know you're testifying, but we gotta take this. We gotta go home. But it's the whole thing about it is we don't make fun of that. We support that in the same sense that I love the fact that a teen in Idaho sat there and said, "I'm gonna get out here and get some. I'm gonna go out and make this money," and actually almost made up to the equivalent of what a minimum wage job would be at $9.70 an hour, and he got that in 4 days. Bravo!
Tax free.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. if you don't mention it, well, I mean,
If
it's
you
public
don't
now.
mention it, I mean, that is news
That
and
is
shit.
news. He's got to pay
Guess
taxes.
what?
I was like,
Other time, be like, hey, good job, son. So,
I'm about to say, now that he's announced it, he's got no
how
choice.
much is this on your reporting now?
Too late. They didn't run the article, so he's got to put that in. But when there's someone
Don't mention the nuts, boy.
well, someone else that does that and is rewarded in the same sense that a woman takes time out of her hands to make dolls for disabled children, that again is always that's a light you just can't ignore. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here for How the Frack We Got Here. Like I said, apologies that's a little bit later than normal. For all those that are probably wondering about Off Limits, yes, there will be an Off Limits podcast in about the next hour or so. We'll definitely go from there on that. But some shameless plug before I get this out of the way. The man to my right is Thomas. It's his first time being on How the Frack We Got Here, and he actually has a podcast of his own called To Be Determined. It is I you know what? I never like to call them workout podcasts. There are so many workout podcasts out there that honestly, it's like I never want when I tell somebody about that. It's like, oh, it's a workout podcast. I'm like, no,
it's more of
I call it
self-improvement podcast.
I'll even go farther than that. I'll say it is a fitness journey that if you're willing to take, he is willing to show you the door. Because you know why? Because I'm sorry, that's just to me. When I say I'm gonna start calling from here on out. It is a fitness journey that you want to take, but you want to know how to do it the right way. This is the man that you should be watching and listening to because, like he said before, many times in this broadcast, he used to be fluffy. I never like saying the word fat unless I'm getting a fat steak. But he used to be fluffy.
Fat ass.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. So anyway, so it's like if you're, he used to be fluffy, and over the years he's learned what doesn't work, what does work, what you do and shouldn't do, the do's and don'ts of the gyms. Yeah. So he's been down that route, and I always say the best. I always tell people that for really those who want to get in shape, give him a listen. See if the things that he doesn't tell you about in his own personal testimony doesn't in any way change or shape your life for you to do the better. Because, like I said, it's the whole thing about being willing to do that change that he said in one of his podcasts says. You gotta be willing to do the change and do the work. It's simple as that. But anyway, his Determined podcast definitely should listen to every Saturday at 3 p.m. I actually have a couple.
Progression is to be determined by you.
I didn't remember that catchphrase. Thank you, though. So my other two buddies, Trace Brown, King DJ Way on Facebook, has a few shows of his own. He actually has the Bump Down, which is a musical podcast, which he goes over everything that's on the charts and what's not, what's happening on mainstream and underground, and just little titty bits about stories that you find interesting. Like I said, if you're an artist that wants to have your music to be played on the Bump Down, please submit it in MP3 form to Trace on Facebook.com for the details. Again, please submit the audio in MP3 or MP4 format form. Just because if you want this displayed, definitely needs to. You wanted to have it sound better at the fast quality. Aside from the Bump Down, he actually has a Smoke with Truth, which is an in-your-face, brutal to the point, but informative and very critiquing podcast. Like I said, I always say it best when it comes to these podcasts, check your ego and morals at the door. If you're wanting to find understanding, then you're going to have to let go of the things that are holding you back. Very unorthodox, but very intelligent brother. Should definitely give him a listen to. And also, my other friend Vaughn has a few podcasts of his own. He actually has I Get That Reference VST. What VST is a short podcast that just goes over music and videos. Very interactive. He has Rhythmness, where you can reminisce over the rhythm, where he actually goes over albums and grades into a 4-tier rating system. He actually has Random as Fuck with Uncle Beezy, which also goes on earlier today, where it is let's call it the pool of wretchedness. And sometimes to escape life and to get a little chuckle in, you always dip your pinky toe in the pool of ratchetness because you do not want to immerse the whole body. Therefore, you do not want to be baptized in the pool of ratchetness.
The baptism of ratchet.
You simply want to dip your toe in and have a little fun. Interactive show where Vaughn finds the most weirdest videos and just subjects. I mean, if you could think of this...
sometimes it's just so weird and she just kind of just laughs real hard and your soul hurts a little bit, but it's still a good laugh.
Yeah, it's definitely interactive. Like I said, all his shows are. If you want to schedule that, just look up A71 Spoon on Facebook or go to our Facebook group, I Get the Reference, where he has his calendar up where it shows everywhere where he'll be doing his broadcast. And especially with our Facebook group, I Get that Reference, it is open to all to join. The only thing we do ask is you participate, so you're liking, you're sharing, subscribing, basically being social what Facebook we asked you to do. And like I said, with how the Frack We Got Here, usually every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. I know today was a little off. My apologies. And also my How the Frack We podcast. The Off Limits podcast has the usual time I'll be doing it. Would be right about now from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. sometime.
Just take a little bit of a reprieve, and then we're gonna go right into that motherfucker.
As he's sitting there sipping, just leave him be. But he is right. We are going to go ahead and still do an Off Limits podcast tonight, subject to be determined at that point. Now the whole thing about how the Frack We Got Here is simply about staying informed. I can sit there and say stay woke all the time, but everybody seems to take a different definition from it. So I'm going to stick with staying informed. Staying informed means that you're not taking everything at face value. You are going into the subject, really doing your research, and coming out what you believe to be as the truth. And hopefully sharing that truth with other people will get them to do the same, because we need an informed society that can make better decisions, because an uninformed one got us Trump.
Before you accept anything, challenge everything.
Yeah, that's how we get riots. But
but think about it. It's like this world has become so accustomed to before you even take a look at the story, like what happened with the old boy from Empire.
But
so many people ready to co-sign because they just without really challenge everything.
I feel like you're about to go into Kaepernick.
Seriously.
Are you ready about to go into the Kaepernick commercial right now? I just feel like you should have an afro, and we should just put you in a tan coat, and just have the wind going, and just have him go, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
Not really.
He just turns around, just looks serious face with the glasses on, and the beard, and the tan jacket, and the afro just wave. I'm sorry, but anyway. Thomas does have a point. Do your research for anything else. That's the reason why we actually have this show. So again, always stay informed, and hopefully you can make somebody and actually be that brave change for somebody else. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end it here. I've been Will. This has been Thomas. This has been How the Frack We Got Here. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully go ahead and play it back. You can feel free to respond as if we're already here. I know you Trump supporters will. But aside from that, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.